Hiya, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go do a podcast?
Sure.
Jump in.
Ladies and gentlemen, Barbies and Kens, Chelseas of all ages, and everyone else, welcome to Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast. I'm your host, John, and with me I have my wonderful co-host. And the nominee for the worst babysitter of all time is Jay.
Oh, I'd like to thank the Academy and my producer. He's standing over in the audience. Hey, Ken!
Yeah. You're the worst. The absolute worst. And for those of you just joining us, we are a podcast about Barbie movies. Every week we watch one of the animated Barbie movies and rate its story, characters, animation, voice acting, and music to see how it stacks up. This week we'll be talking about the 42nd animated Barbie movie, Barbie, Skipper, and the Big Babysitting Adventure.
We made it.
We made it. We're finally all caught up.
Number 42. Yeah, this
42.
was released March 16, 2023.
Oh,
So, a few months ago here.
boy,
We're-
I'm so glad to be at this point. We're done.
yeah.
We are done with all this stuff, really. Like, I'm not even counting Margot Robbie because that's its own thing. But like, we are done. We've done it. We've watched 42 films in almost a year, pretty much a year actually.
Yeah.
But like, here we are. We've done it. Congratulations.
We've made it.
Yes.
Yeah. It's still sinking in for me. I think just because we have the Margot Robbie Barbie coming up.
Right.
But yeah, we've made it.
And then, of
We're
course, we have to
42
do our
in.
rankings of all of these films.
Yeah,
somehow.
That's going to be an undertaking. That'll be next week when we do our big Oops All rankings.
Yep. We'll have to figure that out.
But yeah, this Big Babysitting Adventure movie was released March 16, 2023. This was 2 days before our Princess Adventure episode. So again, not that long ago at all. This will qualify for our end of the year top 5 list on the podcast name in brackets.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
might be on the worst side. We'll get into it.
Okay.
But won't be on my worst side.
I don't think I'm gonna count it though.
Yeah, it's weird because we've been watching all of these and they've been like made a while ago, but then this one is like, no, this was released a couple months ago. It feels odd.
I mean, with the trajectory with how films are going this year, I mean, this could be in our top 5.
Yeah, more likely yours than mine.
We'll see.
But yeah, this was directed by Steve Day, who he's a TV animation director and storyboard artist who's been working for a while. He worked on The Magic School Bus, A Goofy Movie, Phineas and Ferb, and Barbie: The Great Puppy Adventure. Those I believe he was all storyboard artists for. But sort of someone who has experience for in this animation space, which has been true of the last few directors, I think. Yeah, it's written by Daniel Bryan Franklin, who's a TV writer. He doesn't have many credits that I recognize, but he did work on episodes of the Dreamhouse Adventures TV show. And we have music by the Math Club once again.
Oh boy, it's the Math Club.
Yep, we've been hearing that name quite a bit recently. Now, before we jump in, I did want to ask, did you ever babysit?
I don't think I ever did, but I was a camp counselor for one summer where I did several weeks of day camp, several weeks of overnight camp with teenagers. Yeah, pretty much that, mostly.
Okay. Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have just been taking care of myself. You know?
Yeah. I was curious because I have 2 younger sisters, which means that when I was old enough, I would be the babysitter. My parents would have a weekly Bible study that they would go to, and leave me in charge. And then eventually, the older of my younger sisters got old enough where we would switch off every week.
Well, we did do Awanas that one time.
We did do that. That was basically babysitting with a twist. And then we just started putting on Veggie Tales for them.
Yeah, we didn't even try. We did VeggieTales. We put on the Titanic sinking in real time video.
We had fun.
We had fun. We had lots of fun.
Yeah, I did also. I mean, like I babysat for like nephews and nieces, and there was like one time where I did like an actual go to a different family's house and babysit, and it was fine. As it has been established many times, I'm not a big kid person, so
I'm not around children that often, so like I don't have the chance to babysit.
yeah. Did your older sister ever babysit you?
Yeah, but we had a babysitter who would take care of me and my sister anyway.
Okay.
Um yeah, no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway, Skipper's big babysitting adventure. It's the summertime, and Skipper has these plans to work as a babysitter, but they fall through when her friends that she's doing with don't show up. And so she starts getting bad reviews on this babysitting app
Yeah,
or something.
something.
But so she doesn't have a job for the summer, and everyone else is away. Barbie's in the Amazon.
Yeah, planting trees.
Yep. Um, so Skipper meets another girl who gets fired from her job at a juice stand,
Mhm.
and so the two decide to apply for work at a water park.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
And it just happens to be managed by Barbie's longtime nemesis Tammy.
And the one who got Joy fired.
Yep, yep. So we have this history with this person.
Mhm.
Um, who initially Tammy doesn't want to hire Skipper, but Tammy's daddy, the owner of the park, ends up being like, no, hire Skipper and her friends. So they get a job, but Tammy is kind of doing her best to sabotage Skipper and try and make her life miserable. But Skipper keeps finding these clever ways to sort of get around that plotting. And then Skipper has this idea to start a daycare for the kids who are too young for the different rides at the park. And Daddy likes it. So Skipper tells Tabby her plan to hire this video game bus. Is that a thing? I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably is
It
somewhere.
sounds like a thing from the 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one of those libraries that's a bus, but it's an arcade.
I mean, they had those party buses back where we were at. I guess that's the
Yeah.
similar thing.
Yeah. But anyway, before Skipper could propose the idea to Daddy, Tammy sends her off to clean the wading pool, and in the meantime, Tammy steals Chelsea's idea, tires the bus, and Skipper kind of gets fed up and walks out of the park, but she comes across the video game bus, and it's full of kids with no adult supervision.
Oh yeah.
So she and her friends start babysitting the kids. But because Tabby had promised to pay the bus driver extra to stay longer, but then she went away to get the checkbook and she's been gone too long, so the bus driver, not knowing that there are still people in the back, drives
That's the
away.
worst bus driver in the world. Like, sees that kids went on, doesn't even check to see it's empty.
Yeah. And then yeah, so Skipper and her friends only realize they're in this bus going down the freeway. They don't realize until after the bus driver drops off the bus at the maintenance.
They don't
lot.
even knock on the door.
No.
They just like, okay, I guess we'll wait till we stop.
Yeah. And then Tammy sends a limo to pick them up so that the kids can get back in time, but they get involved in all of these adventures. There's a sandstorm, a self-driving party plane. There's dolphins in the fog. Like,
Yeah.
just that's the babysitting adventure part. And eventually they end up back at the park, and Skipper lies to cover for Tammy, and
Mm,
that sort of makes Tammy go, oh, maybe I was wrong. And then Daddy is worried that the bus will cost too much, but instead he lets everyone clean up the waiting pool and open that as the daycare.
nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't advise anyone to do what Skipper does
No.
by changing aspects of the park without asking permission. Works out for her because she is technically some business savvy, but you don't do that without first talking to your manager.
Yeah.
Especially giving away free ice cream. You would not do
Oh,
that.
yeah. No, that is, but it does end up working out for them.
Right. But still, uh, they're not making money.
Yeah. But they do, it is that idea of like giving away something for free, which makes people spend more. Anyway, I actually, those parts of the movie were maybe some of my favorite, where it's sort of, it's doing that like, there's other movies that are very similar in that they're about people working at a water park for the summer, and they have this very like specific tone and style, and that's like that summer job feeling of, your kids, but you're responsible for something and having fun, but also having to do a job. And
Hmm.
there's like all of the different things here of like, there's the nepotism and the incompetent middle manage, but they're still finding fun in this thing.
Yeah, I wasn't really on board on this film until the game bus started leaving,
Okay.
and that's when it's like, okay, now that we, okay, this is where the babysitting part comes in, because it was only at this point it was like only the beginning of the film. And it's like, so where's the babysitting? Are we just doing the water park? I mean, that's just fine, but yeah, no, it went from like a very average film to like a very average film with a twist.
You see, I had the opposite reaction. So it starts out with the babysitting thing, and I was like, oh no. And then Skipper gets fired, and I'm like, yes, no more babysitting. And then we get into the water park, and it's more of like, it's all of these character dynamics and all of the like summer job type stuff. And I was having a great time. And then
It was
the
fun too,
video
yeah.
game bus starts leaving, and I'm like, oh no, now this is the rest of the movie. And I mean, it's fine as an adventure, but I was just so caught up in the conflict between Tammy and Skipper, and then Daddy coming in and whatever he was doing and all of that. That when they get stuck on the video game bus, I was like, oh man,
Yeah, I
could
did
have.
actually really appreciate that Skipper's success with Daddy as well.
Yes, he has a name, but Tammy calls him Daddy, and I think that's funnier.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting that we had sort of opposite reactions, where I like the water park stuff more and you like the adventure stuff more.
I mean, I did enjoy the water park more than the babysitting, but like definitely once they got to the adventure, I'm like, okay, so this isn't just like a basic film of them just doing a job and doing better. It's like, okay, now they're now there's them proving that they can babysit while going on this adventure with very dangerous stakes of children being kidnapped and sandstorms and self-flying planes being
Yeah.
run by a clown.
Uh, that party plane. What?
It just comes out of nowhere and then it just ends out of nowhere as well.
Yeah, no, it ends because they forgot to put enough fuel in it.
Because fuel's expensive, you know.
Yeah. It was interesting.
It was still funny though.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like, why is this clown running this business?
yeah.
No.
I think one of the best things about this is just how funny it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have some really good joke writing here.
Oh, we do. Yeah.
Um Especially like Daddy has some really good lines. Like all of his business stuff. We'll get into his character later, but like he's the like worst or like the best terrible businessman ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's just he should not be running in the company, but at the same time he has such business savvy
Right, yeah.
that you're like, what is this guy's deal? I want more of him.
Mm-hmm.
Which is maybe part of why I like the first half more than the second half.
Sure. Sure, yeah. But like definitely the opening with the children, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it starts out really rough.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I was saying before we started recording, was like, man, we should really stop doubting these Barbie films based on these titles, because every title where they were like, oh man, I'm not looking forward to this film, actually turned out to be much better than we thought.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent ever since like Great Puppy Adventure,
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
where it's just like her even Pearl Princess might have been before that, or maybe right after, but these titles that we go into and it's just like, oh, do we have to? Then we watch it and it's actually like, oh no, that was fine. I had
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
There's some good jokes. Skipper had a babysitting adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, for me, I'm like, I just liked all of the dynamics of the first half. So when it kind of switches to the second half, it lost me a bit. But
Okay.
I can definitely see how someone would have the opposite reaction as well.
Right, because all the dynamics of the first half was like stuff that I've seen so
Yeah.
many times. And so when they added this idea of like, okay, now it's a baby's day out type thing. Have you ever seen that film? Probably not. But like now
No,
we
I
have
haven't.
these wacky adventures. Like, oh no, these kids were kidnapped. Oh my goodness. Now they're unsupervised. It's like, oh boy, this is getting really interesting. Even though I know what's going to happen by the end of it, but it's like, oh wow, they're just keep putting them in these scenarios that shouldn't be the case. But hey, it's interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting watching this as an adult and going, wait a second, everyone on this video game bus is a child. Like, it's
Yes.
children looking out for children.
Right. Yes.
I don't know, because growing up, we didn't have summer jobs, just like, or not. Did you ever have a summer job?
I did not know.
No, it didn't really work logistically, and it wasn't like a cultural thing where we were.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, we just weren't really prepared to do it as well.
yeah, I mean that too, but like, see, Skipper's what, like 14,
Hmm.
13, and she has this summer job, and I'm like, oh boy, that seems a bit young.
I
But I
mean,
guess that's the culture
that's the
in the
American
US.
culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I had a language barrier, so like,
Yeah.
I don't think I would have done good at a summer job. But
Well, yeah, and I mean, because yeah, we were, and you're gone for part of the summer, all of the summer, so
I mean, for me, the only amount of summer jobbing that I would have to do is just mow my grandpa's lawn, and
yeah.
I'll get like $20, and that's about it.
Yeah, no actual like work at a water park.
Or work at an ice cream stand, hourly wage, get tips.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting kind of seeing that aspect of it, and
I don't know
I
why
don't know.
Skipper even needed to do a summer job. Like doesn't she have royalties from her app, from her dog app? You
the
know?
the thing is, the economics of the Roberts family, because they have a huge house and clearly have a lot of money, but they're pretty consistently portrayed as like middle class, which is not at all accurate to anything. And like, yeah, each movie kind of resets them back to like this middle class status while living in this giant mansion and having like a RV and
All these
anything they could
animals.
ever.
They have a
Yeah,
horse, don't they?
sometimes.
Okay. Barbie's a movie star, I think. Or was that the
Not in this
princess? No,
continuity.
that was the princess. That was the movie star.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, It's
Yeah, I think it's more she just needs something to do for the summer
right.
rather than like needing the money.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah.
Can't wait for Stacy's film.
Yep. Did you get the stay long enough during the credits to get the
Oh yeah.
teaser for that?
Oh
Yep.
yeah. I saw that. It's like, huh, yeah. Chelsea got a film. And I guess Skipper got a film. It is Stacy's turn, isn't it?
Yep. Then we'll have dad and mom.
No, Ken will get his own film for
Oh
once.
yeah, Ken.
We'll talk about him later.
We will? He isn't in this.
Is he not?
Oh, we will. Okay. Okay.
See, I'm very
He's
confused about
briefly
that.
in this. He's briefly in this. I
I
do have
did
a note further down.
I did not recognize Ken at all in this film.
We'll put a pin in that.
We'll put a pin
We're
in
getting
that.
the pins back out. We
Yes.
don't need them quite as much this episode.
Right.
But yeah. Any other thoughts on the story?
Not really.
Yeah. I gave the story a 4 out of 5. I really liked that water park stuff. And I just wish they had stayed in the water park and like, no babies. Get the
Mhm.
babysitting out of here. I don't want
Right.
babies.
No, I gave it like a very controversial 3.5 because I don't know. It's I've given like the last 10 films a 3 in the story, and so like, yeah, no, I enjoyed the story much better because it wasn't just a basic summer job. It had a lot more oomph to it. Even the oomph is just babysitting, but still, you know.
Yeah. I should also say I bumped my score up a bit for the humor. I think the humor was
Yeah,
really
the humor.
nice.
I also appreciate the whole thing with Skipper and Tammy's and Daddy's dynamic as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helped as well. Yeah.
Now, speaking of Skipper and Tammy and Daddy, we have the characters.
Characters, yeah.
Skipper is our protagonist here, standing in for Barbie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think the most interesting thing here is her rivalry with Tammy.
Probably, yeah.
And like Skipper's a very different character than Barbie. She's a little more teenagery.
Sure. She has a lot more youthful aspirations, I
Yeah.
guess.
And
At
there's
least in
like
other films.
yeah. That is like that's part of what I like about the first half that then gets lost a bit in the second half is we have this character who because Barbie is defined by her kindness and her bravery and what was the other thing? Clever.
Something. Yeah.
Kind, clever, and brave. Whereas Skipper is a little bit more temperamental, a little bit more emotional.
Tech savvy as well.
Yeah. So but once the babies enter the picture, once she gets on this video game bus, she becomes just another Barbie protagonist where
Yeah.
she has to be the responsible one now. And she loses that like edge that I was liking in the first half. Now I do think the most interesting moment for her does come in the second half when she covers for Tammy. Because she has this moment where she could be like explain to Daddy exactly what happened and get Tammy in big trouble. But instead she chooses a sort of like to be very gracious and forgiving. Be like, hey, I'm gonna give Tammy a second chance. And it's
Yeah.
something that she does of her own because she keeps trying to contact Barbie and be like, hey, how do I deal with Tammy? And then she figures it out for herself, and then Barbie's like, oh, you need to remember that Tammy is actually really nice underneath everything. But Skipper's already figured that out on her own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was a smart character moment for me.
Yeah. And of course Skipper's motivation at the end is like, sure, yeah, I could try and sabotage, but right now the most important thing is to get these kids home safely.
Yeah.
which I appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah, they do even call out like one of Skipper's friends is like, "Hey, you have this opportunity to mess with Tammy." And Skipper's like, "No, I'm not going to do that."
Yeah, I like Skipper's redemption from the very beginning of being able to just be a competent babysitter,
Yep.
esque. I mean, it's a different thing. She's just trying to save the
Yeah.
kids from doing dangerous things, but same concept applies, I guess.
Yeah. It is. I kind of wish that they had gone a bit farther in the first part because it isn't really her fault that she messes up in the first half. Because
No,
she was supposed to have these friends help her that they didn't show up because they were going elsewhere.
and then all of her sisters left,
Yeah.
and then things went to chaos immediately. And then the
Yeah.
parents show up early anyway.
Yeah. Like I wish there had been it had been more Skipper's fault rather than a
Right? Yeah.
misunderstanding. Because then you do get that arc lands a little bit better if it's like, oh, she's actually grown rather than, oh, we kind of knew she had it in her all along.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
then again, this whole babysitting thing is something that the shows have actually done before.
Yeah. Like the whole babysitting idea was like that's why I wasn't really looking forward to this film because it's another one of
Yeah.
those episode genre type things where like we have the video game episode or the superhero episode and then of course the babysitting episode which happens a lot more often than you think. It's usually
Yeah.
a comedic episode, of course, where it's like, these adults are doing these super dangerous things with this baby around. But hey, it's cute and funny. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Skipper is interesting, and I just wish that there was a little bit more there.
Maybe, yeah. I'm just glad that, more Barbie sisters is just getting more screen time instead of just Barbie, 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 you know?
Yeah. I am curious because Stacy's kind of usually the one who gets the short end of the stick.
Yeah, I am kind of curious about that, even though, like, I do wish I was done with Barbie. I'm just a little intrigued.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what the title is.
Now, next up we have Tammy,
Yeah,
who
Tammy.
she's taking on, it seems to be, and I haven't gotten deep enough into Dreamhouse Adventures to confirm this, but she seems to kind of be taking on the Raquel role
Yep.
of sort of Barbie's rival, and then in this one she's Skipper's rival.
Mm-hmm.
Um she just has a lot going on here. She's like mean and petty. She's very much a nepo baby. Just like the only reason she has this job is because daddy, and she really is not good at it. Um, but there is still a redemption arc for her. I just kind of
Sure.
wish it had gotten like
Arc.
a little bit more focus.
It was more for, like, covering her butt than actually
Yeah.
being.
There's a moment where the change happens, but it happens very suddenly.
Yeah.
And I I like her in the first half when she's just the plain villain. Whereas when she kind of the second half just kind of sidelines her. She's like essentially just distracting daddy until they can get back with the bus. Um so my thought for this is why wasn't she on the bus interacting directly with Skipper throughout the movie?
Yeah, because she does get sidelined, even though I don't really care for her as a villain. She's pretty much a petty villain, which is just not really fun for me to watch.
Yeah, I had fun with her. But yeah, you could have had her interacting directly with Skipper throughout the movie rather than like phone calls every once in a while. No, have her be on the babysitting adventure and see Skipper for the person she is and have roll that into the redemption arc.
Right.
rather than she's off on her own and then Skipper covers for her and then now they're friends.
Not quite.
Somewhat. Just like, I don't know. I wish there had been just a little bit more there to sell that redemption arc.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on Tammy?
Not really, no.
Her presentation skills were pretty bad.
I mean, she managed to whip up these presentations really quickly.
Yep.
So I guess that she's got that. She'll do
Yeah.
good in college. Uh,
Next up, we have Skipper's friends.
yeah,
They don't have any distinct personalities, except that one likes dogs.
one likes dogs, wants to sell jewelry, and the other one sings, I guess.
Okay, I must have missed the singing thing. Because, yeah, they just really faded to the background. The only scene where any of them is really all that memorable is the scene with the juice stand, where she gets
Once
fired.
they leave the water park, they just kind of go back in the background, except for Joy, who just sings a song for in the middle of the film to
Yeah.
calm the kids down. But like
It's a
that's
real
about it.
it's a real case of like the dwarves in The Hobbit,
Mm,
where they're basically just one character that happens to be separate.
yeah,
Like, you could condense these three people into one person and give that person a tiny bit more focus, and it would work so much better. Now, they're doing this to sell dolls. I get
right.
that. But I don't know. I just wish they had, rather than three characters, none of whom make any sort of impact, have one character who actually has something to do.
Yeah,
Or, even better, have the friends stay behind to distract Daddy, and then have Tammy go on the big babysitting adventure with Skipper.
probably would have been more interesting.
Yeah. Get those friends out of the. They don't need to be on the
Can
adventure. They
you
don't
imagine
contribute.
Tammy interacting with those kids?
I
Like
know.
the comedy
The
is like
comedy, the
right there.
drama, the
The dra-
melodrama.
yeah,
Just
it
like,
just would work so much better. Yeah.
yeah. Just one little switch. Switch the friends and Tammy in the second half. Switch their places.
I mean, it is kind of cliche to do that, but still,
Yeah.
the cliche works for a reason.
Yeah. Now, next up we have Daddy himself.
Oh boy.
Let me find his name, just so that we have his name said at least once on this episode.
Uh huh.
Oh, these Milton? It's not Milton. Is it Milton? Milton.
Is he voiced by Bill Rogers?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Yes. Apparently, yes, his name is apparently Milton.
Hmm.
I know people named Milton.
I don't.
Anyway, Daddy is hilarious. Just like, again, he's the worst boss ever, but in the best way possible. Like, he recognizes Skipper's good business instinct, but he makes so many terrible decisions in terms of leaving his daughter in charge. Who
Hiring
clearly,
everybody without any interviews is like,
yeah.
you're all hired.
And then it works out for him.
Yeah.
I don't know. He had the best lines in the movie.
He made each scene more interesting.
Yeah. And he's like there's a bit where he's constantly on the phone with someone else and having two conversations at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like at one point, yeah, I think they reveal that the guy on the phone is the pizza delivery person.
One of them is, yeah.
He's like going off on like, "You're fired." No, not you. That's a bit I always like of the boss who's having two conversations at once and the one person misunderstands.
Yeah, a lot of times like those type of jokes just don't land, but here they do.
Yeah. And I think some of that has to do with the delivery of the lines, which we'll get into in a second. But
Mm.
I don't know. The writing is also there supporting it.
Yeah, it helps. Yeah,
And I wish he didn't get sidelined so much in the second half because
he
he
likes pie
basically just,
charts.
yeah, he just sits on the couch and then looks at pie charts and goes, "Oh, I want some pie," and goes to get pie and then sits on a couch and falls asleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yep.
I was like, I was so looking forward to the movie when it was here we have Skipper, we have Tammy, and we have Daddy, and we're gonna see them all interact with each other. And then it's like, no, actually, never mind. We're on a bus. But yeah, that's I, I had fun anytime that Daddy was on screen, and then when he wasn't, it was a little bit disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, next up, we have there aren't very many other characters here that leave much of an impact. We do have the bus driver who
Steals a bunch of kids.
well, the thing that I like about his character here is the reason he doesn't realize that these kids are in the back is because he's listening to this like romance novel on full volume as
Mm-hmm.
he's driving, and it's just so funny. He's like this big burly guy, and then he gets in his thing and turns on his romance audiobook, and then he's like crying because it's so sad,
So romantic.
so romantic.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah, I see your note there. I thought of you when I heard that in the film.
Okay, yes. There's actually several references to different things here, but my favorite is of course the from Rocky Horror Picture Show. I see you shiver with anticipation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the pause wasn't that long, but still,
Yeah,
I saw that moment. It's like okay.
I'm glad you recognized it. I was wondering if you would.
I mean, you and the other one.
You say the other one, and I have to go through a list of all of the people in my head who like Rocky Horror because this is I met my friends in college through Rocky Horror.
Right.
And I've actually seen it multiple times of like a shadow cast of it. And we have friend of the pod, Samariel has actually been in shadow casts of Rocky Horror from our Mermaid Tale episode.
Mhm.
So yeah, that
Yeah.
was just I love anytime anyone shouts out Rocky Horror. I think there have been other ones. I'd have to go back to other Barbie movies and see if I remember.
What did you think about Mr. Clown Face or Mr. Clown Boss?
Yeah, I mean he has moments. I think I kind of sequestered that entire part of the movie just because I wasn't as much into it.
No, it was such a random sequence. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
now we're on this plane, and it's like, what? What is this? Why are we doing this? And it ends, and it's like, okay, that was interesting.
yeah. We also have Arlene. She's back.
Arlene, yeah,
Arlene. I was excited. She showed up, and then she doesn't do anything, and I was sad.
right. But like, the recognized Arlene,
Yeah, it's. I felt she got the. She didn't get enough time in the Lost Birthday, and then she didn't get anything to do here.
right?
Like
Yeah.
I want Barbie and Arlene, the pirate adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I want that to be the next Barbie movie. Give me more Arlene.
Maybe she'll show up in the Stacy film.
Yeah, Mattel,
Cause
give me an Arlene doll,
I mean,
Mattel.
she was in the Chelsea
She
film,
was in the
so
Chelsea one.
it would make sense.
I will buy an Arlene doll if Mattel makes Barbie and Arlene the pirate adventure.
Have they not? Did you look?
That's a good point. Maybe I have not looked to see. Oh, I have though. I haven't looked specifically for adults, but I have Googled Arlene because I like her whole vibe.
Hmm.
Yeah, I wish she would have gotten more time here. We also have like Barbie is barely in this, but she's there.
Yeah, she's there.
She's in the Amazon
And who cares
apparently.
about Barbie anyway?
Yeah. Brooklyn Barbie is missing.
Well, she's in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was missing.
It's kind of odd. There's I don't know what happened to her. And this is like there isn't a TV show that came out between Epic Road Trip and this movie. Like this is the immediate follow up to Epic Road Trip.
I don't think
And
they
there's
mention her.
no there's no mention of Brooklyn Barbie. I
We
think
just have to assume that she's with her family back in Brooklyn.
yeah. It's weird because it's like I don't know what's supposed to be the canon quote unquote ending to Epic Road Trip. And I don't think there is one because these movies reset the status quo
Right, but we
after
know what the
everyone.
road trip wants to be the end of the film.
Yes, but if that were the case, then why is Barbie in Malibu and not New York?
Yeah.
You see, this is the thing. There's no continuity between these things. They're just kind of like, okay, now let's go back to the start. They reset the continuity after everything, but it's not like a sitcom where like everything gets resolved and it goes back to continuity. It's like, no, there have been changes, and then the
So
next movie just ignores the changes.
was Go Team Roberts in between It Takes Two and the other one?
Yeah, between Dreamhouse Adventures and It Takes Two, I believe. I think. I'm like, wait, what? What? Oh, I'm seeing more. I don't know. I'll have to scroll through the wiki because I'm seeing series that don't exist that must be future series.
Oh,
Like Barbie Passport to Adventure. Oh, that's 2024. Okay.
what?
These are like the upcoming TV shows. And
Ooh,
Barbie A Touch of Magic Fall 2023.
interesting.
So yeah, those sound kind of interesting. Like A Touch of Magic might be more like going back to the
Mermaids.
early days of the Barbie movies with like because there's a Pegasus character
Oh,
listed on here. So that makes me think it's like old school Barbie Nutcracker type stuff.
more podcast episodes.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we cover the TV shows. Having seen some of them, I'm not as opposed to the idea as before. But we'll get into it. We'll have to discuss this.
I mean, nothing will ever top Life in the Dream House, but you know,
No. Well, we would if we did the TV shows, we would do that one as well.
of course.
But yeah, I'm mostly ambivalent to the shows.
Hmm.
Anyway, I gave the characters here a 3.7 out of 5. They're better than a 3.5, but not quite a 4. I
Yeah.
think if Tammy had been on the adventure with Skipper, that would be a 4 at least.
Yeah, I give the characters a 3.5. There was just a lot of new characters, and well, they at least had a little bit of something of each of them
Yeah.
that helped me distinct each of them, as opposed to previous films, which I appreciated more. So
Yep. Now onto the animation. We once again have to talk about Ken's hair.
see, is he the lifeguard?
Yes, he's the lifeguard.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I must have missed the line. I thought that Skipper was just talking to like her version of Ken.
Yeah.
Because like again, they redesigned Ken a little bit, so like I didn't recognize him as Ken,
Yeah.
and
The
so
the hair, I don't know what is up with Ken's hair. I have had issues with Ken's hair in the past. I don't know. I saw this a week ago, so I've tried to remember what Ken's hair is even like. But I did notice his face was a lot more expressive, and I actually liked that.
Okay.
But yeah, what they're doing with his hair does not fit his character. I don't know.
Yes.
It's
Well, I didn't recognize Ken, so he's in this film, I guess.
yeah. He again, not enough of there to be a character, but his hair, that's just gonna be, we're gonna have to talk about it every episode now.
Yeah.
Now the movie starts out, and I was super excited because it starts out with 2D animation.
Oh yeah. No, I saw that. I was like, oh boy, this is like gonna bump up my score a little bit.
Yeah, it's Powerpuff Girls inspired.
Yeah, Powerpuff Girls. I loved that. And then the rest of the film is just okay, kind of.
Yeah, there's some good designs. I think the water park feels really unique.
Feels like a water park, yeah.
There's just like a feel to it that's very, I don't know. And then like the lighting is just kind of flat.
Uh, yeah, the lighting really does it for me. It's what gives me a lower score than it really should.
Yeah, it's yeah, just could have been better. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the only other note I have on the animation is that that's not what the Amazon jungle looks like.
Yeah, we should know. We live close by.
Yeah, no, I've been to the Amazon jungle. I have literally been on a boat on the Amazon River.
Right.
That's not what the Amazon looks like.
Yeah.
It
I
does not
mean,
look that much like Hawaii.
they got the McCall right, but like
Yeah,
that's about it.
yeah. It's a little bit frustrating because anytime a movie made in the US has anything to do with the Amazon, they film it in Hawaii. Like pretty much 100% of the time. Sometimes they'll do like Central America, and that's a bit closer.
Mm-hmm.
But very rarely do you actually see the Amazon rainforest in movies. And then this is animated. But obviously they're taking assets from like
Yeah.
the puppy chase and all of that.
They probably just took this asset from uh, Chelsea's Lost Birthday.
Yeah, well, and that's from Puppy Chase before that.
Yeah, yeah, that too. So
But yeah, that was a minor annoyance, but one that I was like, come on,
I don't remember
someone,
these palm trees in the
someone
Amazon.
make an Amazon that looks like the Amazon.
Yeah, go to Guatemala at least.
Oh, isn't that, doesn't, in the Incredible Hulk, doesn't he jump from Brazil to Guatemala?
I don't know if it's Guatemala.
We don't have time to get into that.
No,
Okay. That's a different movie. That's for our MCU podcast.
sure. Yeah, 10 years down the road.
You better believe we have it planned.
You better believe it.
Anyway, I gave the animation a 3 out of 5. Again, the lighting. I love the 2D stuff, but
Yeah.
the lighting, Ken's hair, the Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gave the animation a 3.5, which is lower than our 3.8s than the past few films has. But like, yeah, the 2D really saves it, even though the 2D is very minimal.
Yeah.
It's like something very different, and I really appreciated that.
Oh, we should shout out the 2D segment has my favorite line from the movie,
Oh, yes.
which is because there's like an evil person turning all of the babies into boss babies.
Right.
And like adults, and it's like, let me I have it written down here.
It is a really funny line.
Now they're gonna have to do adult things like save for retirement and talk about the demise of DVDs.
The demise of DVD really hits it.
Yeah, no, that's the moment where I'm like, what? But I talk about the demise of DVD, and I'm not an adult. I go, wait a second, this was released several months ago, and I've been an adult for several years. Yeah, I think that tracks.
Yeah. Boy. Let's not get into the demise of DVDs.
I feel like it's somewhat relevant to Barbie just because of like those early ones were like, if you had a DVD player, you had one of those Barbie movies.
Yeah,
To and then now it's like all of these later Barbie movies. I don't know if they even all released on DVD. I
I
know there's
doubt it.
Blu-rays for some of them, but
Right.
yeah. Anyway, that is, I don't know, I didn't know where to put that note, but that line was, I felt a bit called out because I do talk about the demise of physical media more than I should.
Yeah, like especially for me it's more so Disney Plus that I really need them to release their stuff on DVD.
Yeah. And then there's like, I don't know if you have this experience, but like every time I go to the store to like look for DVDs, the DVD section gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It went from like at my local department store, it went from like an aisle to half an aisle, and now it's a quarter of an aisle.
Yeah, in my Walmart it was 2 aisles to now just one.
Yeah.
Half of one. One side is books, the other side is DVDs.
Yeah. And then even like Barnes and Noble, the local one near me, they like got rid of like half the criterions, and it's almost
Oh,
Criterion month, and I'm like, no.
oh, that's a shame.
No. But I did find there's actually like a used DVD store near me that has just so many DVDs, and it is anyway.
Yeah,
Enough about
anyway.
the demise of DVD.
Oh yeah.
Onto the voice acting
Yeah,
again.
we're
Like I
adults.
said, I felt very called out by that line because
Hmm.
that is what I talk about. Um, for voice acting, I think the two performances that stood out to me most, we have Kirsten Day, who is playing both Skipper and Tammy,
Yeah.
and her skipper voice didn't stand out to me as much, though once I found out she was doing both voices that I was pretty impressed.
Hmm.
But she just leans into the character of Tammy so much and like embraces that like nepo baby whiny brat.
Yeah.
Like the way she says daddy, that's part of why I've been calling him daddy, because her delivery for that word is just so perfect. It's like not quite Swan Lake, but almost there.
Yeah.
She's just so much fun.
Yeah, very impressive to do like two of the main characters of the film.
Yeah. And she's been playing Skipper for quite a while here. She
Yeah.
actually showed up on my letterboxd for my most watched actors of 2023. Up there with Kelly Sheridan and Buster Keaton.
Well, Kelly Sheridan was 2022.
Yep. No, she made it into some of the 2023 stuff.
Yeah, but that was the end of her time.
Yep. Oh, yeah, yeah. We also have Bill Rogers,
Yeah,
who plays Daddy, and
the
perfect.
trucker. He's also the trucker
Oh,
guy.
yes, yes.
He's also the clown guy. And that really tall guy who's like, oh man, didn't go to the little kid section.
Yeah, he's just, again, I all of his other performances pretty good. Him as Daddy is perfect. Like, he
Yeah.
has the voice for it. He delivers every joke perfectly. The comedic timing is just spot on. Yeah, he was so much fun to listen to in this
Hmm.
role. Yeah, I don't know if you had anyone else who stood out to
Yeah,
you.
there's not much else left on this. No.
Yeah, we have a lot of returning people, a lot of kids, which you know how I feel about
Right.
kid voices.
I mean, ever since they stopped using Canadians, like I haven't been able to shout out anyone.
Yup. Yeah, I gave the voice acting a 4.5 out of 5. Again, Kirsten Day and Bill Rogers, great performances there.
Yeah,
Maybe 4.5 is a bit generous, but I'll give it to the movie.
sure. I give it my standard 3.5.
Yep. Now, last up we have the music.
It was there.
Yep. I watched this movie a week ago because I had the time then. Um, and I put one note about the music. Very forgettable. And apparently that is a very accurate note because I have completely forgotten the music. Like usually I'll watch these a little bit closer to when we record and then I'll have a little bit more to say even if I put forgettable. But no, I've just completely forgotten it.
Yeah, usually there's like a original song that pops up, but here it's not as memorable. No,
Yeah.
it does its job. It's fine.
Yeah. I think again, I think it's partially the math club.
They do their
They
job.
they do their job and not necessarily much more. And so we don't have the surprisingly good scores anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We don't have like Great Puppy Adventure where it's action packed and capturing the emotions perfectly. Here it feels like, oh, Mattel gave, or Rainmaker or someone gave the Math Club a list of here's the songs we need. And the Math Club
Mm-hmm.
made songs that fit that, and then they plugged them into the seeds, and it's like, okay, we're done here. So yeah, I gave the music a 3. It's not bad. It's just
No.
not really memorable.
Yeah, I give it a 3.3. It's there. It's fine.
Yeah. And that leaves my final score as an 18.2 out of 25, which is a 72.8% or a 3.64 on our 5-point scale.
Yep, and I give it a 17.3, which is a 69% or a 3.46 5-star rating.
Yeah. We won't spoil where this ends up in our rankings because next week we are doing our final rankings here.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The,
we'll have to figure out how we're going to do that.
yeah, we're going
Yeah.
to be running through a lot of rankings. We'll run through our final like score based rankings, but then we're also going to talk about like our opinions have changed on some of these, or maybe we felt we were too harsh on one or not harsh enough on another. So we are going to
Yeah.
also talk about that. And
Or just our personal rankings, just
yeah,
how we feel about the film versus how we view it objectively.
yeah, which ones we've sort of thought about more in the time since, and which ones have kind of faded to the background. And yeah,
Yeah.
so that it might be it'll be a pretty massive episode. So if you
I
enjoy
mean,
rankings, then
42 films
yep.
multiple times.
Yeah,
It's going to be interesting.
yeah, we'll find a way to make it entertaining as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Because yeah, I know ranking things can get a little bit tedious, but we will find ways to sort of break it up and have some fun with it.
Yeah.
And if you are looking for, which one's our favorite, which one's our least favorite, and where did your favorites end up, you'll have to tune into that. Now, before we go, John, I have a confession. I've been keeping a secret from you, and that is that when I went onto the Barbie wiki to make sure that there weren't any more Barbie movies, guess what I found? Coming March 2024, Barbie and Stacy to the rescue.
Well, there we go. There it is.
Yep,
Is that the next one?
that's the next one.
What? We don't have like another film that's just Barbie centric? It's straight
Now,
into the Stacy film?
yeah, it seems a bit odd to me that this is coming out a full year Though, since I just saw they had the 2 different series coming out, that makes a little bit more
Well,
sense.
yeah.
But we might get one before this. But we now have. So we are not technically finished with our Barbie movies yet. There is.
Yeah. In a year, we'll probably see you guys again.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
won't remember anything about all the other films. I'll just have to look at my scores to just compare and say, like, yep, that's probably right.
Yep. So yeah, make sure to join us a year from now to talk about Barbie and Skipper to the rescue.
Oh boy. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening. Make sure to follow us on social media. We're Binging Barbie Podcast on Instagram, at Binging Barbie on Twitter, and Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast on Letterboxd. Next week, we'll be back with our full rankings of every animated Barbie movie. Join us to see where all of your favorites stand. And the week after that, we will have an episode of our first reactions to Greta Gerwig's Barbie. See you then.
Bye.